Celebrating and Taking Charge of ADHD is an innovative group coaching program incorporating mindfulness as an essential tool throughout. This podcast addresses a number of topics that we face on a day-to-day basis and celebrates the precious human life we have all been given.
Welcome to Celebrating ADHD podcast. This is episode 16, and today I'm joined with Paula and Craig Trafford. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
It's good to have you here. So Paula and Craig are here to share a bit of an insight into their ADHD journey, or ADD journey as a family, and also to share the benefits and misconceptions around CBD products, notably CBD oil. So they're highly qualified holistic wellbeing practitioners with over 70 years combined practical experience. And they would just want to create the space where people can actually get present to how this can actually help reduce the symptoms. So tell us, Paula, let's start with you. What is the journey that you guys have been on?
Well, I guess for myself, as a child, very, very bubbly, energetic child, became a competitive swimmer, national champion, moved on to swimming for England and Great Britain in my teens. And when I quit swimming, very quickly ended up in getting thrown out of home because there was obviously so much energy going through my body that wasn't being used. That was just going off. I was a teenager in all directions, a little bit like a Catherine wheel. And I think that didn't really think anything more about it until giving birth to the two children, two boys that have just, particularly the youngest one, having so much energy. And I can remember when he was 6 or 7, the headmaster called us in to talk to him, and we knew what was coming because he just couldn't sit still. And he literally, I remember when he was about 2, or if I go back to the youngest, he was walking at 6 months, he was running and jumping at 9 months, and at 12 months he was doing bounce, bottom stand up on the trampoline, and was climbing frames. And for 2 years I had to just stand at the bottom of all these trees and climbing frames until I thought, right, I can't do this anymore, it's not fallen, I can't carry on. But in Marks and Spencer's, he would get out of his pushchair and run around Marks and Spencer's and go up the escalators at about 1.5. So I remember getting just really glared at by people because I'd lost my child and he pelted, and he was tiny, and it would just look like I was being an irresponsible parent. But he just was so fast. I had a runner on my hands. I used to put him in bright orange. If we ever went to a fair or something, I'd go to a shop and buy a helium balloon and get it tied on him, so that and really long strings, so that if I lost him, which was very regular, I'd just be able to look for the balloon and put bells on him and just say, have you seen a boy with blonde curly hair with a helium balloon dressed in bright orange anywhere? At about 2 years old, I thought, right, I'm going to have to think of him as my personal trainer, because I don't know how else to put this into context in my brain, that if I think that I've got to do 2 laps round Marks and Spencer's, then he's keeping me fit, rather than getting really frustrated about the 2 laps round Marks and Spencer's. And the game it then became, because he'd hide somewhere and I'd have to find him in the middle of the men's trousers or whatever. And so when the headmaster called us in, we both knew what was coming. Yes, we sat, Mr. and Mrs. Trafford, we'd like to talk to you about your son. Yeah, we just said, yeah, we're absolutely sure he's got ADHD. We thought that was what was coming, and they went, okay, right. So there was a big sigh of relief there, wasn't there? And
the sigh of relief came after he'd been diagnosed a few years later.
But they knew they didn't have an uncomfortable conversation. Have you thought this, that? Because we just said, okay, we knew where it was heading.
Yeah.
And he is now 15. So the story with him, more than the elder son, it's been so traumatic in terms of just starting with the Marks and Spencers. That's just one of those things that I remember. Being condemned by other people for not being able to control my child properly. The amount of mom shaming that went on in the playground was absolutely horrific.
It's one of the huge myths, isn't it, that ADHD is the result of bad parenting? Absolute bull.
I had so many parents that just, wouldn't invite him to the party because he was so full of life that he would get all the other children full of life. And it was really badly mum shamed, to the point where I did become quite reclusive, and I couldn't. We got called into school so often with his behaviour. It was daily. We've been had really suffering businesses because of it, because we've had to be at home. He's off this week. He's been off, quite a lot. So we have to. One of us has to make sure that we're available because of that. So it really affects and impacts the business. We've had family members fall out with us because of it. I mean, I could just godparents. So it's impacted massively on the family.
Thank you for sharing the insight into family life, and you've mentioned the joys and you mentioned some of the challenges as well. So before we move on to specifically about how you manage those challenges.
Well, I teach a mindfulness and meditation and relaxation practice called Kumye, which is over 2,500 years old. And since I have been studying that, and since I've been teaching that as well, which is about 9 years, that for me has been the game changer. That and CBD. So the CBD, taking that brings me calm, but the meditation practice gives me the skill to create the calm that the CBD gives me. So so you can take it orally and then you have to keep taking it, but having a daily meditation practice for me, I think is a real game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it really, really is. It's vital to be able to understand how to calm yourself down. Another really good thing's nature. Being out in nature, I think, is a great thing for people. Walking and just connecting to nature, gardening.
That's absolutely great. Thank you for sharing it. It sounds like you've all applied a quite holistic approach, an alternative approach to managing the symptoms of ADHD.
Yeah.
So, as we know, there are many things out there and many beliefs that this works or that works. But what we're going to focus on today is the CBD oil. So perhaps you could share with us what it actually is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's cannabidiol. So it's an extract from the agricultural or industrial hemp plant. People often make the mistake that it's from the cannabis plant. So it's from the cannabis genus, but it's not marijuana. So you can't get a high off it. You don't get a high off it. It's got hardly any, it's got trace elements of the psychoactive ingredient, and you can never get a high on it. You'd have to drink litres and litres of it to do that. So yeah, it's an element that helps to trigger the endocannabinoid system inside us. And the endocannabinoid system is pretty much the parasympathetic nervous system. So the functions of the parasympathetic nervous system are to calm, relax, bring a sense of rest and digest and repair. And without that part of our immune system would be completely inflamed all the time and attacking whatever we thought was threatening us. So when we're attacking a virus or bacteria that comes into the body, then the sympathetic nervous system comes into play and it attacks and beats it up, so it's marshalling the armies. But quite often what we need is inner peace. Like I say, the rest and digest. So what we've found is that the endocannabinoid system is in the brain, it's in all the major organs in the body, in every, I think is it invertebrate animal on the planet.
Yeah.
So we all have an endocannabinoid system. I'm not sure that insects do.
Insects don't.
They don't.
No.
So they don't have one. I mean, that might even be saying something, because a cockroach could survive a nuclear holocaust, couldn't it? But yeah, so it basically cannabidiol, or CBD as it's more commonly known, is simply that extract, those compounds that are found in the agricultural hemp.
Okay, so what does it actually do?
It calms and relaxes, and it depends what studies you read, because there have been many research studies done, even though you might be misinformed that there has been very little research done. There's actually been a lot of research done on the effects of the endocannabinoid system. So the first thing that I think we notice is the calming and relaxing, isn't it? It seems to just infuse the whole body with a sense of calm, relax, safety, and inner peace. And obviously those states are going to have knock-on effects to just about every and any dis-ease or unease in the body and the mind. So it's it can be applied, it would appear, to just about everything and anything. But it's always really important to mention this, in conjunction with your qualified medical practitioner and advice from, so, and that's just sensible. A lot of doctors, GPs are open to talking about it and to knowing how it's affecting you if you're taking it, if you decide to take it. A caution is that if you're taking blood thinners, or if you're taking any kind of medicine that says don't take grapefruit juice or grapefruit juice products, that's a kind of, it's a flag to say you definitely need to be talking to your doctor about this
before taking CBD.
Before taking it, only because of the fact that it might push other medications that you're taking to the end of the queue to be processed through the liver, because it pushes its way to the front. So they might stay in the liver a little bit longer, and can your liver process it when you're taking that level of dosage? So that's a precaution. I've not seen any personally. I've not seen any anything that's where people have had really bad reactions at all, or side effects from CBD. I'm sure there must be some somewhere for some people, but as I say, doing your own research is absolutely essential. From whatever angle you want to do it on. But its main function is to calm, isn't it?
It's an adaptogen, and what an adaptogen is if you're hyper, it sort of takes you into balance. But also, if your energy is really low or you're depressed, it brings you up. So it can take you down, but also it can bring up the mood if you're depressed. So it finds that place in you where brings you into balance.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who come to us, they have anxiety, depression. They use it for pain, insomnia, inflammation type pain. Sort of arthritis type pain, that kind of thing.
And stress, really.
And stress is a major one. Yeah. So they're what our customers use them for, those kind of things.
Okay, that's great. Well, look, in terms of see, with ADHD, a lot of symptoms are affecting our brains. We get brain fog, and that's how does is CBD oil good for the brain fog?
Yeah, I mean, it's just what well, we use it during the day for work because it actually it does this so that you just got single focus and stops the mind chattering so much. So it's really, really good for that, isn't it? And our eldest son wouldn't revise before his GCSEs and failed all his mocks with unclassifieds. And then when he went into his exams, I said, why don't we try some CBD?
I think he failed them all.
The first set,
quite a few.
no, the first set.
All of them.
All of them. Yeah. And when he went into his GCSEs, I said, let's try some CBD. And we started off on low dose on the 5%. How was it? He came home brilliant. So we started increasing the dosage, and he was just saying, I'm doing really well with this. So we went up to the 10%. And one day he forgot to take it. I think it was a maths. And he said it really, it wasn't good today. My mind was all over the place. So he was just saying it's working really well, and ended up with 7 GCSEs. And they weren't low grades either. They were between 5s and 7s. And considering he hadn't applied himself and hadn't revised, it was a miracle. It was an absolute miracle that he got those, and the only difference was the CBD.
Yeah, that's the only thing he did differently.
And he enjoyed his GCSEs.
Yeah.
And well, so there was nothing else. There was no like traditional medication or anything.
Oh God, no. I mean, we didn't feel, and it may be right for some people. I think there are a couple of sort of very famous actors who swear by medication, and I agree with them that it may be exactly right for them. We made the decision it wasn't right for ours, even though there was some pressure to medicate, both from the education system, from the medical profession, and from other adults who, many of who are ADHD experts apparently.
And friends and family.
And friends and family.
Because we were struggling so much and it was affecting our livelihood so much, they said, you're just going to have to medicate. You can't carry on like this. But we refused. And like, I think it was Paula, you first tried it out at a festival or something, didn't you? So we tried it out on ourselves and went, oh, wow. This has an effect. Wonder how it will work with our youngest. We tried it on our youngest, and he calmed down, and that was amazing. You see, when we're talking about challenges, when he used to go to bed at night, it took him 3.5 hours of constantly coming downstairs and us having to walk him back up, coming down. I can't get to sleep. Back up, down. Can't get to sleep, and that's after the bedtime routine. Nothing worked. Nothing at all. So we combined that with hops, wasn't it? It's a powdered hops mixture. Yeah.
And he was asleep within 15 minutes, which for us, and that was by the time he got to age 12. So I wish we'd discovered it before then.
Yeah.
But what we found, wow, this really works. And it makes a massive difference to us because we now get our evenings and we can give more attention to the others as well. And he is getting good quality sleep, which is massive when you have these issues. You need good quality sleep. So it calmed him during the daytime, but we also feel that it prepped his system for a decent night's sleep. So it helped to balance his cycles out as well.
I think one thing that's worth mentioning is that with ADHD it's quite often there's really high levels of anxiety.
Yeah.
And because he was getting shouted at so much at school and getting sent out of the classroom so much, made to stand up in assembly, on and on a daily basis, getting sent home from school, the anxiety then starts to loop. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the teachers are anxious because of his behaviour. And then, and
they're trying to jump on the first thing,
And so there's this big spiral. And what the CBD did was, because it calmed him down and helped with the sleep, the loop was stopping. So we were reversing the loop now, and that started to, and habitual behavior. And I used to think he's now in learned habitual behavior. This is how he believes he is. This is who he believes he is. And I believe with ADHD and understanding myself, if I get stressed, it gets worse. And if I'm calm, I can maintain. It's the same with my dyslexia. If I'm calm, I don't really show dyslexic symptoms. If I'm stressed, they're really bad. So I know that the calm is really crucial to then start to reverse this loop that's going on. And that's a really key thing that the CBD, it broke the habit of him thinking that he had really high levels of anxiety.
Yeah. And he did have high levels of anxiety, I remember now.
But it was understanding that actually there's a different way of being.
Yeah, that's it, because our surroundings and our environment affects us. And one of the key things is when we experience the emotion of fear, it just shuts the prefrontal cortex down, and we can't think properly, we can't think clearly. Actually, I can quote from the recent Dune film, "Fear is a mind killer."
Absolutely, yeah.
It's true. But I guess what people may be concerned about is perhaps the long-term effects of using CBD oil. Are there any?
We don't think so. I mean, you could say that of anything, couldn't you? Really. What we found is that people that we know who use it, and we ourselves, every now and again, we just come off it because the systems seem to be working okay. So the endocannabinoid system is working all right. When I will myself to feel peaceful, I can feel peaceful. I don't need to take anything today. So at first, you might need to go through your own protocol, your own program, and then after a while, you just go, well, I don't need it now, so I'm not going to use it now. So I haven't seen, and we haven't heard of anybody, and I haven't read any studies. It doesn't mean there aren't any. I haven't read any that say that there are any long-term adverse effects. Personally, from my own perspective, as a holistic health practitioner, if you're not overdoing stuff, whatever the stuff is, if you're not overdoing most stuff, and you're really becoming self-aware and self-monitoring, and you're talking to your medical practitioner whenever you feel the need, then you're taking responsibility for your own health and well-being, and therefore whatever you're taking, you know when to reduce it. And
I forgot what I was going to say now, but I was thinking about alcohol, and I think that long-term effects of alcohol compared to CBD or smoking, which are part of our culture, and overeating and eating loads of wheat and sugar are far more harmful than taking CBD. And that was what I was going to say. It's like taking a cold pressed oil, like flaxseed oil. So it's got that benefit, and also our endocannabinoid system, because hemp's been out of our lives for so long, we've all got depleted endocannabinoid systems, because hemp used to grow prolifically all over the world, all over this country, and it was fed to cattle, and the cattle would poo it out, and it would go onto the soil, and we'd eat the cattle, and the poo would go into the soil. So our endocannabinoid systems were being boosted all the time. Our vegetables would have been grown, and so we had a really vibrant endocannabinoid system, and that's been out of our culture since about 1937. So nearly 100 years. So just by taking it as something to boost your endocannabinoid system, you could just take a really low dose regularly just to boost that up as a cold pressed oil. I think it's a really beneficial thing for most people, just because of that deficiency.
Okay. He was I mean, they asked for him to take it frequently at school, at his schools. it became known as his calming drops. And I think as much as they saw the calm in him, it enabled teachers to feel their own sense of relief. Not only that, it enabled them to communicate to the young human being that was in front of them, rather than the behaviour that was niggling them. So that was a massive relief all round. So it was not just a benefit on our child, it was a benefit on the adults around him, and therefore an extended benefit on the kind of the school culture around him as well.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, maybe something teachers and schools could look at, investigate more for everyone. So what I'm hearing is that there's no withdrawal effects. If you've been taking it for some time and then you come off it, you haven't experienced anything adverse.
So some people who there's one guy in particular I'm thinking of at the moment, and he's been through awful bouts of high anxiety, and so he's taking it at 10%. That's the strength that he's taking, because he finds that works well for him. And then there have been a couple of occasions where he's just come off it because he's finished the bottle, sort of thing. So he's just stopped. And then after a week or two, he's got in touch, and he's been in a kind of desperate place. So it's like he's had to boost himself back up again. Whereas if he just sort of kept it at a level, then maybe that would have been better for him. He wouldn't have dropped so far down. But now, I think he's is in the kind of situation where he's reduced it, and he's just keeping it going at a very low level, and he feels like he's more in control of those issues around anxiety. So, that's there's no way that I could have sort of recommended he take it in that way. He's had to find out for himself. And as for myself, if I stop taking it altogether, I don't notice any negative side effects at all. I don't know if you do.
No, it's the same as taking a painkiller. If you've taken a painkiller if you're in pain, like Anadin or something, it just sort of suddenly wears off, and then you think, oh, if you had a pain, oh, that's hurting again. I need to take some more. And it's the same. It kind of is the same as that. You don't get addicted to taking Anadin, or I don't think most people do. But it's that sort of thing. You think, oh, actually, I need to take a bit more of that. That's my experience of it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Other aspirin is also available.
But
I'm just using that as an example. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the things that I've read up about it, they're saying that the common side effect of this treatment is appetite change. What's your view on that?
Not noticed it.
No.
Not noticed it at all. I that could come from, that sounds like an effect of marijuana to me.
Yeah.
Appetite change, munchies, all that kind of thing. It doesn't sound like anything that I or anybody that I know or any of our customers have never mentioned an appetite change. So you don't get a sudden rush for the munchies. I think the only side effect that I've noticed is, and I take a 16% to help me focus in a relaxed way, is that occasionally I've got a dry mouth. So if I have a dry mouth, I'll drink some water.
Yeah.
And one thing I would say is that because we've tried loads of different companies, loads of different types, and sometimes, when something's really working, you think, oh, I'll have a big dollop today, and that actually has been counteractive. It's counterproductive. Yeah. So actually, less is more. So that thing of, I just have a big squirt today.
I'll load up.
As actually, I found it's not worked, or it's made me feel out of sorts. So finding your right dosage is a real key and a real art. And some days you'll need more, and some days you'll need less.
Yeah.
And some
Sweet
days,
spot, isn't it?
yeah, and some days you won't need any. And taking loads just because you think, that's going to make it better, it doesn't work like that at all. It's really, it's kind of, it gets you in tune with yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many drops of CBD oil should someone take that's new to it?
Well, we can't really say what somebody should take, but what we can say is that commonly what we've found, and lots of companies who use CBD or who sell CBD would suggest and recommend this, is that you start low and you grow slow. So what we quite often recommend is 2 to 4 drops, 2 to 4 times a day under the tongue. See how you feel after 2 or 3 days. And if you feel okay, then maybe you're in the sweet range. It's not a sweet spot, it's actually a sweet range. If you feel that you don't actually need to be that relaxed, you want a bit more energy, or whatever the reason, and you take it down a drop or 2, then notice how you feel after a couple of days of that. If you feel that you want more of the effects that you're getting, depending on what you're testing it against, if you're testing it against pain and it's actually hitting the sweet range and it's getting rid of 60% of the pain, then maybe increase it a drop or 2, and maybe that'll increase. So a lot of the time it depends on your body, it depends on how big you are as well, it depends on how bioavailable the whole thing is for you and how your system metabolizes it and processes it. What we do is we offer people on our website a progress log. So you click onto the progress log, you download it, and then you can write what you're taking it for. Write it down to remind yourself how much you've taken, how long for, and what the effects were. And so that's a process of biofeedback, which always helps. Your own observation and your own self-awareness helps with everything. And certainly with taking CBD, for whatever you're taking it for, if it's insomnia, then just take it for insomnia, just take it and test it against insomnia. And how does that work for you? And if you find it works, great, move on to something else. If you want to, if you have anxiety, then test it against anxiety. But don't just get CBD, I'll see if this stuff works, because it makes no sense. It makes no sense to your body. So testing it against something's really important, and that's how you'll start discovering your own sweet range.
Yeah, that sounds a sensible way to do that. So in terms of, can you ever have too much of it? Can you overdose on CBD?
If you take too much, I say to people, if you take too much, you won't do the washing up and you'll probably fall asleep. It's that whole thing, you just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be like that, not having that motivation, but that's the side effect. The washing up will not get it done.
It's not a depressant, so it doesn't depress. It's just a.
I can't be bothered. It's not that important.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I guess, because it is related to cannabis, it's that, it's not like cannabis, but in that not caring about things in the cannabis way, there's that sort of very, I can't be bothered. That would be if you've taken too much.
Yeah, if you've taken too much, you don't attach a lot of importance to tasks.
Got it. Okay. Well, as you mentioned, the cannabis, some of the I guess some of our listeners are potentially in jobs that require drug testing. Does it show up on a drug test?
Certain drug tests, apparently it does show up. So if you're in any of the forces, if you're an athlete, then you've got to look at whether you're going to take it or not. Now, we prefer, as holistic practitioners, what's called full spectrum. So it's got everything in it, trace elements of everything. So it has something like 0.001% THC. So that's that's a trace element. But broad spectrum is further kind of extracted, and that has absolutely zero THC in it. So from my understanding, people who are athletes have been using it for quicker recovery, speed up recovery, and to help them rest and repair quicker than they might do normally. People in high stress public services, they've also been taking it to reduce stress. Now, our sense is, I mean, you can speak for yourself, but we kind of agree that we prefer full spectrum, but we don't have to do those tests. So it's kind of easier for us to make that kind of decision.
Yeah, definitely. We prefer the full spectrum. We think it when you're getting the oil, we also do a paste, a CBD paste. So that's raw CBD paste. So that's one extract less than the CBD oil. We prefer just personally the CBD paste because it's in a more natural state.
So you get more plant matter in it.
So it's quite spicy, and quite often people don't like the taste of it because it's really quite strong. But we prefer that and feel that's the best one for us. But then they've got the oil, and then the broad spectrum has had another process. So it's another process along. So it's been messed about with a bit more. So that for us as natural holistic practitioners, we prefer the less messed about with, but also I don't feel it's as effective. But if you're in that place where you are getting drug tested, it's better than not.
Yeah.
So but we don't sell broad spectrum just because we feel that we
feel ours is more effective at the moment.
Yeah,
it certainly is for us.
But it wouldn't show up in if you were pulled over on the road, for instance. Breathalyzed or whatever, it wouldn't show up in that.
It's not a drug. It doesn't affect those functions.
It's just high level testing where, like athletes, where the test's much stronger.
Yeah,
it would potentially show up.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification on that. So that leads on to just getting present to understanding the specifications. If someone wanted to purchase some of the CBD oil, there's terminology around it, so which we've shared already, the percentage of it, the perhaps how much of this product's in it, the other product. What advice would you give for someone looking at what kind of CBD oil to buy?
Well, on our website, we've got a dosage calculator. We've got a link to a dosage calculator. We've also got links to other CBD information websites, and also scholarly articles and various videos that people have used to discuss the whole topic. And really, if you're looking to buy it, just look at, this is what we do. We look at the presentation. Is it presented like a bang, wow, zam, this will cure everything? Because if it's presented like that and it's got statements such as cure your cancer with this, stop this happening in life, transform your whole life, then we'd say that's a red flag. You're not allowed to make those claims, for example. So look out for dodgy claims to begin with. Also look for quality. So some people like to see lab tests, and you can get links to the lab test of the batch numbers that you're putting out. Other people like traceability, so trace it back, where does it come from? So ours is produced in Europe, and we're with one of the oldest, longest established CBD companies in the country, who only work with organic farms and farmers at the moment. And that's just our own sort of ethical, our own ethos, if you like. And what we noticed was that there are a lot of, I think, wide boys is the best way of looking at it in the industry. So you do have to be you do have to do your research. You know, it's like, and some of these wide boys, we're not going to mention names of high street establishments, but they were given slaps on the wrist for selling products without any CBD in it.
And another, health food shop with poor quality.
Yes.
And so when we first started on our journey, probably spent £200-300 on CBD from various different companies, trying lots of different products. And
that was the first day.
And that, we got stung quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that was, and then we got this massage balm that we sell as well, and we got stung on that. So we only sell products that we've tested and that we believe in. And because there is a lot. It's very confusing.
There's a lot of education though out there, and it's like, we've got links on our site that people can sort of click through to and look at other people's websites and look at get some facts for themselves. And it is important, because it's part of the process of taking responsibility for your own well-being, is to research into what you're taking, why you're taking it, and any cautions.
Yeah.
And I do think that, we've been, I've been in Canada, the marijuana and CBD is being, it's legal there now, and in the States. We do know what's coming. CBD lollipops, CBD biscuits, CBD hummus, there's going to be, eventually the market it'll be everywhere. But I would just say to the CBD coffee, which people can quite often get now in shops, is you're just better to buy a bottle of oil and stick it in your coffee yourself. It works out much cheaper. And CBD lollipops, I just can't think, giving a kid a CBD lollipop is kind of not really work, it's sugar and CBD. It's just a bit of a contradiction, a bit of a salesy, gimmicky thing. Although
gummy bears can be quite effective.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, let's so what I'm hearing is in terms of, there are many players out there, and to look for quality, they would have lab tests. So would it be a lab grade CBD oil as a sign of quality?
No, it's not necessarily even a sign of quality, because some of the lab tests can be a bit dodgy as well. It's really looking at reputable sites, looking at testimonials, looking at the quality of the information that you're being given. Are they making claims, or are they giving a balanced representation? Have they got a fantastic marketing sales push? Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but in their presentation, are they pushing it, or are they saying, look at these reports over here, look at this study over there? Do you know what I mean? It's like that there should be certain levels of information that come with selling of CBD products, because it's quite often it's sold as a food supplement, like lots of things are sold as food supplements, and we know that there are scams left, right and centre in the supplement industry.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I was just watching something about the vitamins and about the lack of regulation and testing that goes along with it. So is that the same for this market? Is there anybody that's managing it or regulating it right now?
We're heavily regulated, but the regulators haven't really known how to regulate the CBD industry. And, I think a lot of that is to do with the stigma behind cannabis and that sort of thing.
Who's the regulator? Who's
is it DEFRA? Yeah, I think DEFRA
comes under farming.
Yeah, actually, it may be the Home Office.
Yeah, it just
I think it's the Home Office.
Moved to the Home Office.
Yeah.
Last year, March 2021, it moved to the Home Office. But the Home Office don't understand anything to do with it, so they're not the actual body that should be regulating it. And so it was in quite a momentum before the pandemic started, CBD was moving really quickly in this country, and it's just fallen kind of flat. It's kind of in a bit of a void place at the moment. In terms of progression was happening. It was really moving forward. We were really hopeful that, you know, things would move forward really quite quickly, but it has been slowed down just because of the pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the still a little bit confused as to maybe I've got some brain fog myself on the milligram. So you've got 750 milligram, then you got 2,400 milligram. I mean, what does this actually mean?
It's
Yeah.
that's a tough one as well, because how many milligrams do you have? If you've got 20 milligrams of CBD in a 30 milliliter bottle, how much CBD is in there? Which is why we go for the percentage strengths.
Yeah.
So because we find that easier to understand, it's a mathematical nightmare knowing how strong or weak something is. So again, that's why we've got a link to a dosage calculator on our website, so that people can look at this for themselves. Because, for example, I haven't got a brilliantly mathematical brain, so it's difficult to work things out for me. But I can better understand percentages than I can milliliters, milligrams, grams and liters, and that way of looking at things.
Okay.
10%.
What does that mean? 10%.
Well, what I was going to say is, so the starting place that we have is 2.5%, and that is for children, animals, very thin, frail people, maybe very sick, frail people, and elderly people. But it also could be for hypersensitive people, that, you know, people that are really, really, really very, very sensitive. So most people, adults, would start at 5%, but if they were a really big, or, you know, big in height, big in weight person, they might start on a higher dose because there's more to get into the body. And what I would say is that I feel the whole thing's been really complicated. And actually, what we're being called for is to just listen to our bodies. Going back to that rule, know yourself, start off really low. The plant will talk to you. It will tell you actually a little bit more, a little bit less. And that's why, you know, having big squirts is not the way either. You just got to go, actually, I could do with some today, or, you know, I just need a little bit, or I've got an interview going on, so I could do with a bit more. And I always say to people when they get it, you know, get it on a Friday, take it on a Friday evening when you're not working, and then take it over the weekend and have a play with it over the weekend, so that when you're at work or you're at school, you're not going into fear around it. You're not going, oh, what, so many people they take it, and if they've smoked marijuana in the past and have had psychosis from marijuana, they take it and then immediately go into this kind of place where they think something really weird's going to happen to them because they're remembering marijuana, but it's nothing like that. So that's why I say it's really good to just take it at home, when you're on your own, away from people, and just have a play. And the number of people that have started off at 5%, you know, been so frightened, taken one drop, and then after they've got their confidence with it, said, oh, right, 10%, this is really working, I've totally got it now. It's just a matter of it's really not, we don't have to work out, from my perspective anyway, the dosage, the this, that, and the other. It's, you need to listen to your body. You need to understand yourself. For me, it's been overcomplicated.
Yeah, no, that's
so
great.
that's an entirely holistic take on it. You know, be responsible.
Yeah, no,
try it for yourself. Well, I understand your points, like where should I go when I'm making my first purchase? So that's why we've said start low and grow slow. So the ones that deal in percentages, then 5% is quite often a reasonable starting place. For the ones that deal in milligrams, if you see things like 5,000 milligrams, maybe look at that as a 5%. If Do you know what I mean? So it's like you can roughly work out the strength of something, but it's only when you actually try it for yourself can you know how strong it actually is for your body, how strong or how is it not strong enough. The only way is to test it.
Because again, we're all different, and even with ADHD, the story will be different.
Yeah.
And it's the same with our sensitivities, and the sensitivities can be different on different days. So
it's a spectrum, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, we all experience the symptoms in different ways. Wow. So what I'm hearing is start low and go slow.
Start low and grow slow.
Grow slow. There we go. So start low and grow slow. There we go. So you've heard it. Perhaps if you're keen to try it out there, you're listening, and I'm definitely keen to give it a go. So where do we go to find out information?
Come to us. Yeah, come to us. Or is the British Hemp Alliance. They've got lots of information. There are quite a few CBD companies who have plenty of information from different angles, depending on what elements of CBD they're selling. We can signpost people from our website. And I mean, obviously, it's easy to just put CBD. So say you've got insomnia, CBD for insomnia. You just put that into your search engine of choice, and you'll have so much to aim at. What I quite often put is scholarly articles. So if I put that in there, then I'm more likely to get onto PubMed or something like that. But not everybody likes to do things that way. So either put in the condition that you're interested in taking CBD for, or come to our website and play around with the blog and a few of the buttons on the navigation bar.
That's great. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put a link in the podcast comments, and I think Witch Guide has also done some kind of review on CBD as well in this country. So that's good to have a look at. So what is the actual site? Come on, tell us.
BeCalmerCBD.com.
So say that again very slowly.
So BEC.
Yep.
ALMER, BeCalmerCBD.com.
Be calmer.
Because that's kind of our message to everyone.
Be calmer.
Be calmer.
Be calmer. Yeah. Well, let's all take it. Let's see if Boris wants some. Maybe.
And we're really open to questions as well. And I'm one of the first people in the country to be qualified in using CBD in my treatments.
Fantastic.
So we've done a lot of research. We've used it on the kids and animals. And really interesting, we've had people with Alzheimer's or the starts of it, and they've used it and reversed it. So it's.
We're not saying it reverses Alzheimer's or anything like that.
It was at the beginning stages.
Their symptoms.
The symptoms were reversed, but we've got quite a lot of experience with it, and we're really happy to talk to people.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And I mean, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your own personal journeys as well as a family, and putting forward the benefits around this alternative treatment to reduce the symptoms. So thank you very much. Hopefully we will see you again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Sue. Yeah.
Thank you for downloading. You've been listening to the Celebrating ADHD podcast, empowering people to reach their full potential. Please follow us on the Celebrating ADHD Facebook page, Instagram and Twitter, or join the members area at www.celebratingadhd.com. We are already good enough the way we are. Celebrating ADHD works best combined as a holistic treatment program, so we advise you to consult your health specialist for medical advice. If you are not sure if you have ADHD, please get in touch, as we can recommend a medical expert, as the diagnosis is all part of the journey.